Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today we have another fan request, and it is for the 1989 action sci-fi sports film, The Blood of Heroes. Here is your trivia question for today. In this film, how is timekeeping done in the game of Jugger? The answer will be at the end of this video. Our film starts off in what appears to be a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's here at a village in this wasteland that we meet our main character, Kidda, played by Joan Chen. You see, Kidda is involved with an interesting sport that has developed in this harsh time. That sport is called Jugger. You see, Jugger is a bloody, ruthless sport where weapons and combat are allowed. And there's one player called the Quick who has to retrieve a dog skull, run it to the other end, and place it on a pike to win. In one of these games, Kidda's team faces off against a group that really seems to know what they're doing. Unfortunately, during that, their team's Quick is horribly wounded, but Kidda takes the opportunity to extend her services to join their team as the new Quick. We then see a training montage as Kidda becomes better and better as a Quick. We also see as the whole group works together much better as a unit, eventually becoming so good that they are now on their way to see if they can join the League. This film is written and directed by David Webb Peoples. Also, David, along with the stunt coordinator for this film, Guy Norris, actually created the sport of Jugger together. The movie was filmed in Coober Pedy, Australia. Coober Pedy was perfect for a wasteland, as it had not actually rained in several years in that area. They actually had 150 extras for this movie that were all locals. Here's one last interesting thing about Coober Pedy. It's actually where some of the best opals in the world are mined. In my own opinion, the only really good parts of this movie were the performances of Rutger Hauer and Joan Chen. In fact, they would even work together in two other films, Wedlock in 1991 and Precious Find in 1996. I was also surprised to see great actors like Delroy Lindo and Vincent D'Onofrio show up in this film as well. I really wanted to like this film, but the more I watched it, the more I felt like I had just purchased a copy of the movie Rollerball from Wish.com. When it comes to the sport itself in the film, it is very odd, but also it is kind of interesting. I mean, you've got the different roles. So you've got the Quick, who is Kidda in this movie, and their job is to basically grab the dog skull and take it to the pike to win. Then you've got the Slash, which is what Sallow was doing, and they seem to be more on the offensive. Then you've got the roles of the Drive and the Back Charge, which were done by Big Simber and Mabulu, but I have no idea which one was which. They both just seem like defensive positions. And finally, you have the Griffer, which was Youngar's position, which apparently they swing around a chain and they're kind of both offensive and defensive. One of the things I just couldn't get out of my head while watching this film is how much the sport kind of reminded me of a much more violent version of Quidditch. One thing I was definitely not expecting to find out after watching this movie is that in 1993, Germany actually turned Jugger into an actual sport, and it is now played in over 20 countries as an international sport with actual leagues, rules, and competitions. It's actually particularly popular at the Wasteland Weekend event. The sport was popular enough that it even showed up in a comic book series called The Warriors of Plasm. In the comics, though, they called it Splatterball. So, unfortunately, when it comes to the film The Blood of Heroes, there's really not much good I can say about it. I will say it's at least worth one watch. So, I'm going to give this movie a 1 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, in this film, how is timekeeping done in the game of Jugger? So, someone is assigned as the timekeeper, and it is their job to take a pile of stones, normally 150 of them, and fling them at a gong. And each time they're hitting this, it's supposed to measure an increment of time, as if it's grains of sand in an hourglass or something like that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.